Hello everybody, Fox Check here with another video. Checking facts by day, proving people wrong by night. Last video was a left-wing topic discussing the drama on the internet in the left-wing circles. This video I'm going to be discussing a topic that has had a lot of people's panties in a bunch. The conservatives in this country have been obfuscating about it. They have been throwing temper tantrums about it, fake outrage about it. This topic, it's kind of milquetoast. On the surface, it's not that big of a deal, but because the conservatives and the right wing in this country, they're not really winning on very many issues, they need something to complain about. Because again, their ideas aren't popular, but their politicians might be genuinely popular, but their ideas just aren't really that popular. They're not sticking that well with, millennials and new age hip folks. So they need something to complain about, and that one thing that they're complaining about is something called critical race theory. Now, what they'll say, and I hope I'm not skewing things to mean something that they don't mean, or I hope I'm not strawmanning people, but there's a large group in this country that believes that if you teach kids critical race theory, this boogeyman critical race theory, that they're going to grow up hating America, and you're just essentially teaching them Marxist and communist concepts, even though these people probably couldn't define the terms Marxist or communist or socialist. They'll say, oh, this was created by Marxists in a lab somewhere in Frankfurt or something like that. But at the end of the day, they probably can't even define those terms in any way in which an intelligent person could understand. But they're complaining about it because, again, their ideas aren't popular. What is critical race theory? Critical race theory essentially means, to just break it down bare bones, it means that there are people who believe that policies that were made 150, 35 years ago still affect racial minorities in a negative way. So basically, these were racist policies. Now, they might not have been drafted as purposefully racist policies, but the outcome is that they've left specific people in unequal places in this country. So in detrimental places. And usually you learn about it if you are a law student, so it's a fairly high-level course. Or a high-level concept to learn about, even though you can kind of incorporate it into maybe like higher education college course, or maybe a high school course like U.S. history or something like that. Maybe you could classify it into there. Maybe you could discuss it in like an ethnic studies class. But moreover, more or less, people aren't learning about it. I mean, people aren't learning about it as a topic in class. And I know because I am a social studies teacher. I've taught U.S. history in schools. We don't learn, or we don't teach critical race theory. Okay, and what's happening is, politicians and members of the online political community who are on the conservative side are getting their followers in a tizzy about it when it doesn't really mean that much. It's not that big of a deal. It's not that big of a deal in their case, believing that, the United States has done bad things. They don't want students to learn about it. It's not bad to tell kids that the United States has done bad things. And the reason why they don't want people learning about that is because they think that if kids learn about critical race theory, if kids learn about negative aspects of this country, then they'll just grow up hating the country, like I said before. But that's not necessarily why a concept like the de-whitewashing of history is being taught, right? I remember when I was in elementary school and middle school and high school, we learned that Christopher Columbus was a good guy, right? We learned that the founding fathers of the United States were not flawed individuals. We learned that the United States, outside of a few like kind of bad things like slavery, haven't really done bad things. It's been in the last, I'd say, 15 years that students have been learning about Japanese internment, that kids are learning that Christopher Columbus actually wasn't that great of a guy, not only to the natives in Hispaniola, but also to the people who worked under him. You know, not very many people know that Christopher Columbus was arrested and then he had to be pardoned by the monarchy in Spain. You know, now we know that Thomas Jefferson had slaves and that he was pretty bad to his slaves. So what we have is the understanding that these figures in history were flawed, and we need to understand the negative aspects of those figures. But here's the thing. Here's the funny thing about this. That isn't even critical race theory. It's not critical race theory at all. And there shouldn't even be a problem with that. Because in this country, we learn all these bad things that other countries did, like Germany and Japan and China and Russia, to name a few. But we don't want to learn about the negative stuff we've done? No, I think that's baloney. That's blasphemy right there. We need to learn about our history so that we don't repeat the negative aspects of our history. That's why kids have history class. So that we don't repeat these mistakes. But the thing is, we repeat these mistakes constantly and constantly and constantly. I understand that people have trepidation about how, if you teach why the United States and white people have been bad in the past, specific white people, not all white people, but if you teach that as a concept, white people might get bullied. What you need to understand is that, especially, I can only speak in my own classroom. Nobody's getting bullied, okay? The students are smart enough to understand, especially students who are, racial and ethnic minorities. They're smart enough to understand that the white kids in their class aren't the ones causing the problems for them right now. They weren't the ones causing the problems for their ancestors in the past. So it's very important to make that sort of parallel right there. It's not happening. And I understand that parents are going to board meetings and they're like, critical race theory, we have to stop it from happening. But you have to understand, actually read what critical race theory is. Actually read your students' curriculum and understand that critical race theory as a whole is not really being taught. So I hope that this video has allowed people to understand where I'm coming from with this. No teacher wants anyone to be bullied in their class. No teacher wants to stand here and say things about the country that are untrue. We're not teaching the students lies about this country because we're just maniacal people, rubbing our hands together and cackling. It's important for our students to understand what this country has done and the truth about this country through primary source documents, secondary source documents. They need to understand that there are parallels between what happened in the past and what happened now. And they're not doing this because we're unpatriotic. We're not doing this because we don't want to be Americans, because we hate America. We're doing this because it's the truth. And for years, we've been whitewashing history, and it's time to stop. That's all I have with this video. I hope, anyone who wants to comment on it, we could have a commentary or some sort of discussion in the comment section. But just understand, critical race theory isn't being taught to your kindergartner. It's just not happening. That's all I got to say. It's ludicrous to think otherwise. All right. Peace.